smart woman, so nobody has anything over you there. And, you know, even if they have more experience, I mean, you're good though, Sandy. I mean, I see this in you already. It's just, you know, being able to, you know, ask these questions. Sometimes it's as simple. I mean, I learned this in my early days of facilitation. You know, even if
I don't know if she was divorced. She was on her second marriage, but I don't know why. Join from your browser. Chat. Pin. Show not primer. Did I get it? I quickly agreed to the terms of service. Gee whiz. Betsy. luggage. I don't mind flying.
Well, I still got music going on while you're going on up there. But I can stop it when it starts.
I would think it would stop exiting the street, show non-paying participants, gallery, speaker. I don't want to talk. View. I don't know what I got into here. Original sound is on.
Well, I should be starting if we quit playing the piano.
Michael, we don't have to start right now. We still have 5 minutes. It's not quite 9:40.
Okay,
If people are still grabbing snacks.
okay, I'm just doing
Oh,
That
perfect.
mic
is
check.
the Google Chrome is unknown, and that's what I have. I don't know any of this other stuff.
How we doing? You got a level over there?
We do some yoga.
Can you pick people up? Can I get a volunteer for a mic check? Who wants to do a mic check?
Coming
Sophie,
on
mic.
now with
Oh, what do you want me to say?
Just talk into the microphone.
Sophie, just start talking.
Okay. Oh, you can hear
Try
it,
this
right?
one.
Okay.
Probably hear me without a mic too. And it's gonna be fun. It's really gonna be fun.
I don't know desktop what that is. Phone pad, cable, and AirPlay. I don't know what any of those are.
should be sharing this. We got another picture up over there. That should be, yeah, that's it.
We'll start here in a couple. Oh goodness. Okay, we'll start here in a couple minutes. We're just gonna let the rest of whoever wants to join us trickle in here, and we'll start around 9:40. Thank you all for being here this morning too.
Well, I must be on Zoom.
Yeah, you got them on Zoom, that's good.
So I think most of you that are going to be here are here, and I'm just going to quickly say I'm Michael Stetzler, president of the congregation, and somehow I got listed as co-presenter on this thing, but it's really just Julene and the youth that are doing this. So I'm going to let Julene kick it off whenever she feels ready.
He's introducing him.
All right, well, good morning. My name is Julene Hawkins. I am the youth director here, and I had the privilege of going to Chicago with 10 youth. We have half of us here this morning, and 2 wonderful chaperones. So a little bit of context for our trip to Chicago. So originally, last fall, we were planning to go to the ELCA Youth Gathering, which was supposed to happen here in Minneapolis. We were all signed up to go, everything looked great, and then at the last minute there were some complications with the youth gathering, and they decided to cancel the trip on us last minute, which was about back in February. So then in the course of 2 days, we kind of came up with a new plan. I gave out some options for what the kids who had already signed up might want to do, and we settled on a week in Chicago. So the youth here are gonna share about our time in Chicago. So I'll I'll introduce them as they step up, but unable to be here with us this morning was Natalie Kors, Summer Mueller, Ava Burt-Carr, Lucy and Claudia Rawitzer, and then Kim Wetland and Betsy Hoyme. So to start us off this morning, we have Kaylin's going to share a little bit about our learning portion. So I should say too, in the process of planning for this trip, threw basically everything together myself, and there were some constraints with that, you know, planning a trip in February when you're supposed to go in July. For anyone that's planned a trip, planning a trip kind of stinks sometimes, especially when you're trying to do it for a whole bunch of youth and have fun and also gather in all the things that you might want to incorporate in a church trip. But we centered the main part on it on service learning, with the main emphasis being learning, mostly because a lot of our service projects we tried to incorporate didn't work out, but we still got a little bit of service in there and had a great time. So Kaylin is going to share with us about some of the things we learned.
I can't get it any louder.
Okay, so we went to this one museum called the Deuceville Black History Museum, which displayed an overview of Black history in Chicago, as well as like highlighted prominent events and people in the city's history. It included like an art gallery, interactive exhibits and simulations, most notably the Times of the March, a virtual reality exposition depicting Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, as you can see up there. That is, by the way. Okay, one thing I appreciated about this museum was the emotional connection it presented in the exhibits. I noticed this especially in the art gallery, with each piece depicting deep experiences, traumas, emotions, as well as hope. The museum exposes the tragedies in Chicago, the narratives of racial dominance and violence, but also showed the continuance of African American culture. We saw this continuance reflected throughout our whole trip, flowing through the streets with the music, the art, and the food. I believe that Chicago was an imperative destination for our group. It was an opportunity to learn about the different worlds around us and experience God's influence in the city.
Thanks for sharing, Kaylin. Yeah, we can give her a round of applause. So to re-emphasize even some of the things that Kaylin touched on, so at the Deuceville Museum, as Kaylin said, there was an art portion. There was also exhibits about the race riots, the history of slavery in America, and also especially Chicago. And then we also got to do this special exhibit called The March. So we see Anna demonstrating it here, but we put on virtual reality and we're at the speech. So you stood in a room in these boxes, 4 to 5 of us one at a time, and you could turn with the virtual reality technology on, and surrounding you were people that might have been at the march, and you listened to the speech. And so it was very immersive and really cool. I hadn't heard about that before I was doing research for Chicago, and it ended up working out in our schedules, but definitely a highlight. And we appreciate Emma demonstrating for us in this picture. And then the rest of the museum had other posters and things from that time too.
Louder then.
But like Kaylin said, it was an awesome experience.
It's open mic, yeah.
And then Sophie's going to share some of our other learning and then move into service too.
So one thing that was really, Liz Erickson's sister basically gave us a tour at the Field Museum, and basically she did a rundown on basically the evolution of like Earth, kind of, and it was very interesting. We kind of got to learn about mass extinctions that happened. There was at least like 5 or 7. There's quite a bit. Basically, we also got to learn about dinosaurs and humans and how we correspond with Earth, so I thought that was pretty cool. We also helped out at the Bridge Teen Center, where we sorted clothes
for the thrift store that's actually connected to the teen center. And then kids who go there can, I think, use the clothes there, and then they also have a lot of different rooms where they can do like after school activities.
Thanks, Haven. So to summarize that little part, so Sophie finished up with our learning. So Dorothy Mason, Liz Erickson's sister, gave us a tour of different graphic designs that she's designed at the Field Museum. And so we walked through the evolution exhibit, and she showed us different graphics that she made throughout that exhibit. And we also talked about mass extinction and how it's important to talk about both evolution and science with faith, and how, you know, our lives are richer when both of them are together. And so it was really cool to have that like inside view and to get a tour from someone who's worked on the museum that we had a connection with back here in Minnesota. So that was super helpful and nice. We also did a couple of other museums. We actually went to a lot of museums, which Anna will get into later when we talk about fun. But we went to the Science Room Museum and Industry, and also the Shed Aquarium, as well as the Crucible. And then as Haven had mentioned, for our service projects, on Thursday morning of our trip, we went to the Bridge Teen Center, and that's a center for teenagers to come hang out after school. They do a ton of programming. There's classes from various art classes, classes on how to get into college. They do welding classes, cooking classes. And to fund that ministry, they own a thrift store. So part of our service project is we sorted clothes and donations for the thrift store, and then we afterwards got to go shopping at their thrift store and hear about their ministry. There should be a slide about it, but I don't know what's going on with our projector, but that's okay. So we appreciate that, Haven. There it is. So part of our science in this is that on our group picture is we sorted 100 bags of clothing that people had donated, which will serve 5 students for a semester of programming, where they can come and do this programming for free. And on the one side, you can see us sorting the clothes kind of in their space, and then the picture above is different hangout zones that they have for teens, and they found that, you know, if we invest in teenagers and give them all these life skills, like, they'll be better citizens and can come support that ministry too. We also did another service project that Tegan is going to come talk about.
Oh yeah, I am. So this day we went to the LSTC, which is the Lutheran School of Theology in Chicago. We took the train and the bus to get there, and the first thing we did was we went to the Chicago. Where did we go?
Before LSTC?
Yeah.
We went to the
Wasn't it the
Congress
University of Chicago?
Shop. Oh yeah,
We went to the University of Chicago, which is right across the street, and went to a local coffee shop in the university, which was really cool. And then we walked back across the street to LSTC and started our service project. When we first got there, we had a small church service, and then we went downstairs to their youth lounge hangout area, and did introductions and a game. And then this is the fun part. We went outside and we helped plant flowers in their garden, which was really fun. And I think we all had a lot of fun doing that. But yeah, that was. Oh.
Are you talking about the next part too?
If you want me to. We talked about faith. We did lots of devotions. For example, one day we did devotions at the Crown Fountain in Millennium Park, which was, I don't know, a nice place to do devotions. It was very calming with the water fountain, and so that was a good time. Yeah.
Cool.
Faith.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, so to echo off Tegan too. So we went to LSTC, kind of learned a little bit about what it means to go to seminary, if that's an option, down the road for any of these ladies. And then we did a little bit of programming with them, did a worship service, and then we were able to help in their pollinator garden, which we did find out that LSTC is selling their campus and their building, and trying to transition more online. I think a lot of seminaries are moving in that direction right now. So they didn't give us a full campus tour. However, it was really cool that we talked to some students and then helped them with this garden. And their goal is to just increase the bee population in the area. And they also talked about food justice and hoping that, we can start planting food for community members in some of their ministry paths, which was cool. As Tegan said, yes, we also did have some faith components to this church trip. We... you got to get those in every once in a while. So we did have nightly devotions. On Thursday night, we had a larger, more kind of a worship service where we did communion. Tegan, do you want to share what we had for communion?
We had Ritz crackers and grape Fanta.
Because you can do communion with anything.
Yeah. Yes.
And so, yeah, we kind of capped the trip and talked about how faith was moving in Chicago, as Kaylin had said, but also how it's moving and working through us as on this trip and when we go out into our lives every day. I don't know if this video is going to play, but one of the days, Tegan and Ava video blogged our trip, which the video may or may not play. No? Yeah. You guys can find it on our website. It was posted earlier this summer, but it's pretty cute.
I put my back into it, so I think it's a very good video.
You get to see, you get to experience just some of the little parts of our day, and then especially our daily Starbucks trip, and
Fireworks.
yes, the fireworks, which we'll get into in a minute. Okay, and then Natalie and Summer were unable to be with us today, but they were going to talk to us this morning about transportation, because one of the other things we took away from this trip is how to navigate public transportation. How many different forms of transportation did we use?
2, 3.
3 or 4? Yeah, somewhere in there. So we took the Amtrak to Chicago, and then once in Chicago, we either walked, took a bus, or took the L, or the metro. And so that was, how was it?
I thought it was eye-opening.
Eye-opening, there we go, that's a good way to describe it. We learned about how transportation, especially when you use public transportation, can have unreliable schedules, like how we waited for the Amtrak over 4.5 hours from departure time on the way home, and also we had a couple of other times where we were standing waiting for the buses for a long time. But yeah, it was a good way to figure out how to navigate going from point A to point B without necessarily having a car. We put on a lot of miles. We averaged around 8 miles of walking a day. So yeah, it was good. But here's some fun transportation pictures. The picture of Kim and Tegan on the left of the screen is in the visitation car. I'll pick that up in a second. But so you could go sit at tables and then look out the windows, which was a fun place to hang out. And then Sophie and Haven on the right are demonstrating our lovely seats. And then this was on a bus. So we got all kinds of variety of transportation. And then Anna will talk about all the fun we had too.
Okay, so we did a lot, like a lot. So we went to the aquarium. What was it called again? The Shed Aquarium, and quite a few museums. And it was really fun to like walk around on our own and like explore everything. And then we went to the beach in that picture. It was really fun to just like take some time off from walking a lot. and just relaxing at the beach. Oh. And then we went shopping, also a lot. Yeah, it was fun to walk around, see Chicago, and spend time together. We also went to dinner a lot. We did a lot of things, a lot. We got to eat at a lot of new different places and getting to spend time together also. And then we saw a lot of popular attractions in Chicago, like the Bean, the Sky Deck at Willis Tower, the Crown Fountain in Millennium Park, where we did one of our devotions, walking around on Navy Pier and seeing fireworks, and swimming in Lake Michigan.
So Kim is doing a back bend in the Sky Deck, which is how many stories up? 103 stories above the ground. I was not doing a back bend, but we applaud Kim for doing it. Got the good picture. And then also, as a couple of them have mentioned, we had to make our daily coffee run. So Betsy needed to capture that in a photo as well. So that, in an essence, very quickly, was our entire trip. We had a fantastic time. Does anyone have any specific questions for us before we move on? Yeah.
Occupations that have a lot of touch, a lot of heart, a lot of when you have to be with others to learn how to be with others. It seems like to me that this is a trend that I would, if I was still a senior college executive, kind of object to. I think, I hope that you can experience universities in person rather than online. And kind of wondering if one or two of the gals up there might have a feeling on 100% online university education, and if you were going to social services or some type of program like that. No, both my daughters were in computers, big deal, you know. That's designed that way. Any comments on the fact that we're going that route of
I was going to say, I'm going to summarize it really quick for those of you that couldn't hear. So the comment was going back to how we had visited the seminary and how they're selling their campus, and talking about how colleges may be moving more online. And kind of he was wondering if we could comment on our opinions on like online programs, especially in fields that are, you know, more person-based. Like you wouldn't think of a seminary being fully online. And I do think in LSTC's case, they're not fully going online. They're just selling their campus to move to a smaller facility. I know that Pacific Lutheran in Berkeley, California has also recently done that, where they sold their big, beautiful multi-building campus and now have one central space in like an office building. I have a couple friends that go there. But to answer his question, for those of you that are in 11th and 12th grade, do you feel like you could go to college fully online? And do you have thoughts on that?
online learning versus in-person learning?
Yeah, as Peter, we can answer that question too, as Peter said too. You guys have done a lot of online class, especially with COVID. How do you feel like that's impacted your education?
I guess in high school, I liked doing the online learning. I felt that it worked pretty well for me, but I prefer being like in the classroom. So I feel like for college, I wouldn't want to be online, or like at least as little as possible. And like I get what the LSTC is doing with their campus, just like making it smaller and then doing a lot of online. I feel like personally I just couldn't do that like for 4 or 5 years.
Thanks for answering, Kaylin. I graduated in 2020 from University of North Dakota, and I have a degree in nursing. And I would say that, especially for being nurses, there are programs that are some like hybrid, somewhat online, somewhat not. But I definitely gained from being in person. And I think that there's like that sense of community, even like in being on this trip, right? Like that was a big portion of being on our trip together, is that we got to spend a whole week together in person, which we might not have been able to do for the last 3 years. So like I see the economic part of, you know, needing to downsize and do all that, but then also, well, trying to keep those spaces for community is important. Thanks for your question. Do we have any other questions?
We're from Chicago area, so that's why I'm kind of interested. Where did you stay?
Yeah, great question. Where did we stay? Who wants to share?
We stayed at a hostel. What was it called?
Hi, Chicago.
Hi, Chicago. We were able to rent out 2 rooms just for us. So we had one group in one room and the other in the other room. What else? We had a shower in our room and a bathroom and a sink, the essentials. And then they had other amenities like a big kitchen. They actually had 2 kitchens for us we could freely use whenever. They also had like a lounge area. And they had ping pong, so there was lots of ping ponging happening. And yeah, I think it was a very I think it was a good like stay idea for us. It was comfy and it worked out. Yeah.
Was it in?
It was in downtown.
It's close to Millennium Park, so it's downtown, off of State Street and Ida B. Wells. So, yeah, Michael.
Have you shared your experience with other friends, college peers in Roseville that were not on this trip? And like, what would they think of the video that you did? Have we gotten any feedback? Does it help? How do you talk about it in relationships with others here?
Okay, to summarize Michael's question, he said, have you guys shared about this experience with your peers since being home? Tegan, you want to share since you're nodding your head?
Of course. Yeah, I've definitely shared about this trip. Me and Kaylin both went on the New York trip a few years ago, so this was kind of similar, which I thought was really nice because I enjoyed the New York trip a lot. But I've definitely shared a lot with my friends about the trip. I don't know. I guess I've described it as very easygoing. It was a very like nice and simple trip to go on. Yeah, it was just a lot of fun in general. It wasn't too like high paced, or we didn't really do anything that I guess none of us like disliked. We all did things that we enjoyed, which was nice. Yeah.
Does anyone else want to share to that question?
Come on, guys.
Okay. Any other questions? Debbie?
I'm curious as to whether you've given some thought as to what kind of a mission trip you would like to take next year, if you're going to do that.
Yeah, so Debbie said, have we given any thought to what kind of a trip we want to go on next year? Which I have a little part about that afterwards, but. You're still on board. Yeah, you got this.
We were going to Colorado, right? We're thinking about it. Okay, we were thinking about possibly going to Colorado. I don't know, the main takeaway from our last conversation for me was hiking. So, yeah, I don't know what we do for service projects. We haven't really discussed that yet, though. But I guess Julene knows more. Oh.
We'll talk later.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to comment just on behalf of myself, if I speaking for me what others are saying. I just want to thank you all, express my gratitude for being willing to go on that trip. Maybe it wasn't, if it pulled you out of your comfort zone, but just to express appreciation for representing Prince of Peace while you were on the trip.
Yeah, Erica.
And to sort of echo that, thank you, Julene, to you, Betsy and Kim. I know it was hard to transition from a totally planned trip to starting again from scratch on short notice, and having kids back out from one trip and new kids join in an additional trip and numbers fluctuating, and the financials fluctuating. So thank you for that.
Yeah, to just repeat what Jim and Erica had said, they stated their gratitude for our ability to go on the trip and represent Prince of Peace. And Erica also mentioned just thank you for the flexibility of transitioning trips, as I had mentioned previously. And then we did have kids drop out and add back in, and we didn't have firm numbers until June. But that was okay. You know, it was great. I'm very glad and grateful for the group of girls that went, and I think we had a really good time. And with that, I don't know if our presentation is back up. We advance the slide. So we have a couple of thank yous. We wanted to say thank you to Betsy and Kim for chaperoning for sure. They made this trip possible, so if we can give them a round of applause. Another very cute transportation picture. And then also we sincerely want to thank everybody in this congregation for making this trip possible, whether it was well wishes, prayers for us, your generous donations. This trip would not have been possible without all of your guys' support, and we're very, very grateful for it. So applause to all of you guys too. I think, Deb, did you have a question too? I didn't mean to cut you off.
I had one question. Did anyone see or experience anything during the trip that changed your views on who you are today or what you wish to be in the future?
Would you mind coming up here and saying that? I don't think I could restate it as well as you just asked it.
Was there anything you saw or experienced on the trip that may change your view of who you are today versus what you wish to be in the future?
Go for it. That's a great answer. Okay. One thing that I learned is to be like more aware and attentive on public transportation and just being aware of your surroundings and other people.
That was good enough for the group answer? Okay, well, I can also answer that. Thank you all for trusting me. This was the first trip that I fully led/planned, and it didn't end disastrously like how I had been playing through in my head the whole time, right? So I feel like in that sense, I grew a lot as a leader, learned a lot. I'm gonna have a lot of takeaways from that. But I'm really grateful for the opportunity to hang out with these awesome kids, Kim, Betsy, and to just be in Chicago and enjoy our time together. So, thank you. I don't want to cut anyone off. Did anyone else have any questions? Okay, well, again, to reiterate, we really are very sincerely thank you for all of your guys' support. But speaking of a trip for next year, so nothing has been set in stone. We're still formulating. However, I do have a survey for teenagers, parents, Really, actually, anyone in the congregation, if you have strong opinions on where we should go, you can fill out our little survey, and I'll make sure I get a link available here in a second. But that kind of decides on where we want to go. We've talked a little bit kind of about the things that we want to do for next year. But it's also super helpful. Like if you guys went on a youth trip when you were young, or you've led one as an adult that was super impactful for you, I want to hear all of those things. So with that, we will add into the survey, or I'll bring the survey so you guys can all do it. It's online, so if you have a phone, there will be a link. Michael, was there anything else you want us to share quick too?
Just to repeat the thanks of the council and everybody that is involved in this process. I really appreciate all that you've done. I just wanted to add that this isn't probably the best way to get deeply into the opinions that you guys have, but we want to listen carefully because you are the future, not just the Prince of Peace, but of the church and Jesus' presence in the world. And so we look forward to having other ways to listen to you and to capture your wisdom, because we heard just a little bit of it here today, and I want to dig deeper with you going forward.
Thank you. With that, I'm going to let the kids sit down because I know they loved you all staring at them, but it was not going to be the highlight of their morning, and I will go grab that survey so you guys can take it. And if you guys have any further questions, you can always feel free to come up and ask us. So again, thank you so much. There's also coffee and refreshments if you want to walk out and get those and come back, since worship's in a little bit.
everyone. We are back. We're at the Deuceable Museum. We're gonna eat some lunch if we're hungry. Some people are eating lunch over here. And then we're gonna head on into the museum and look at some historical facts. Hello, guys. We got out of the museum. Good stuff. Now we're waiting for the bus so we can go back to the hostel. And we're all just sitting. Guys, wave. Thank you. Wave. Julene. Mom, wave. Okay. We are gonna go back to the hostel. We're gonna have some free time, some downtime. Hello, everyone. It is evening. I forgot to vlog the fireworks, and I forgot to vlog everything we did. Exactly. Dinner and the museum. No, I took a video at the museum. We're on the bus right back. There's Betsy and everyone else. Anna, Nadia. Okay, anyways, stop. So
So I hope you guys enjoyed our little vlog video here. I did just post the survey on Facebook, on our Prince of Peace Facebook page, so feel free to take it from there. I also will be emailing it out after church today for those. Some of the questions, if you're not a high school youth or a family member, they might not apply to you, so just skip those. And we'll go from there. But we appreciate, again, thank you guys so much for hanging out here and listening to us go through our presentation, hear about our trip to Chicago.